Hi there. This is Lee Matos, Senior Support Engineering Manager, Americas East, here with an update on the support response crew in AMER. So if you're watching this on YouTube or not sure what the response crew is or what the heck any of this is about, what we've done is we've focused on a process that was developed in EMEA and we've adopted it in America. So we've learned everything we could from our EMEA engineers and we're trying to understand how we can make that same process work in America. The process is called Support Response Crew, and in the description below you can see some more information and links to what that means. In this presentation, I'm going to focus on data, specifically data around our SLA performance, so how often we were breaching our SLAs as defined in Zendesk, and we'll pay attention to that. And I want to set the tone that this presentation is about understanding what we see, understanding where we need to go next. It's not about we failed or we succeeded or we have to change or we don't have to change. It's about understanding where we are, setting a common table, sitting at it, and then having a discussion. So on the 19th of January, the support engineering team will have a discussion in AMER to just brainstorm ideas based on the results of this deck. So without further ado, let's dive in. So looking at this next slide, there's a lot on here. I've packed this, and this is going to be the key, most important slide from this presentation. We'll spend our time starting here looking at this side column, and this is the format I use throughout. I settled on a week by week example because it gives us enough resolution without being too noisy, and we're also focused on amount of breaches, not our achieved SLAs. I noticed about 3/4 of the way through this deck that it might have made more sense to go with achieved, but it would have taken me twice as long to convert everything. So I stuck with breaches to get this shared. From that, you'll see that there's this period from the 43rd week to the 48th, and then the 49th to the 2nd. That is equidistant on both sides. That was first when EMEA was doing crew, and then 49th through the 2nd week is when EMEA and AMER are doing crew. So you'll also notice in this table over here that I have pre and post, which are those periods there, and then I have the adjusted, and adjusted just accounts for holidays. We thought that holidays might be a factor, so I've adjusted that and I've removed those weeks from both data sets, so whatever holiday applied, and I've done that throughout the rest of this presentation. So if at any time you think that that has an impact, they're side by side and you can compare. Sometimes we'll find that we did worse on holidays and we thought we would do better on holidays and it would skew it more positive. Interesting. So with that, let's take a minute to look at just this pre-crew and talk through this first line. So when we're talking about pre-crew, pre-AMER crew, the min means what was the lowest amount of breaches we ever saw, which was 4.3%. And then we go to max, what was the highest? 12%. So this is kind of our best and our worst, and or the peak and the trough, and the difference is 7.73. If we go to post crew, our best was 6.9 and our worst was 10.29, and our difference was 4.20. So what does that mean? Across the globe, 4 tickets with an SLA, FRT and NRT, and I've excluded license and renewal tickets, security tickets, professional services tickets, and accounts receivable tickets, so that it's all the core tickets that we deal with. During that period, we did slightly worse on our best days, but on our worst days, we did slightly better, right? And then we could see that through the difference as well with the range compressing. So what does that mean? We've kind of shrunk the range and settled down a little bit. So coming down to this bottom, we see that this helped us raise our breach floor. It did not increase our max performance. Before crew in AMER, we had higher max performance across the globe. With crew in AMER, we did not have as high a max performance, and that holds with adjusted as well. So from there, the thing to think about is the way I would describe that is we are more consistent across the globe with FRT and NRT, and consistency being they're closer together and our highs and lows are closer together. And I think that we can conclude that from this data based on this. If you have a differing opinion, bring it tomorrow and we'll get a chance to talk about it. So this is kind of the gist where we start. So crew is not helping us go higher in performance, but it is raising our ability to address tickets and breach slightly less. So that's interesting. The next thing that I'm going to focus on is thinking about regions, because AMEA adopted this and then we adopted this in AMER. So we need to see what happened there. Can we see any change? So I have the same sets of data, min, max, and average, and then we have it adjusted below. And you'll notice these regions here usually have two elements. And what I mean by that is these are mutually exclusive regions where those groups are working. So let me take a second to explain that. America's East, West. Then we have AMER West APAC, right? So we have AMER East West, AMER West APAC. What does that mean? So in the first example, for America's West, that's kind of the first half of their day, where America's West APAC is the second half of their day. And then we can carry it on through. There's APAC and EMEA, they have an overlap where both of those groups are working. Then there's a period of time where it's just APAC engineers working. There's also a period of time where EMEA and America's East overlap. And there's also a period of time where it's just EMEA engineers working in America. America's East is not around, or America's West as well. So this allows us to see the whole world broken down by crossovers and exclusive regions without double counting anything. So with that, I also took a chance to just highlight anywhere where there was a positive change, where there was a difference, and notice that lower is better. So anywhere where there was a decrease, I took a note of that. And you could take a pause on this slide, take a look. If you have any questions or things like that, feel free. But I did some analysis on the next slide. So America regions did not seem to do much better at all, right? With crew, specifically AMER, we look about the same, right? So while this is helping the world get better, when it comes to just America's performance, this didn't particularly help America. So we have this, it's helping the world, but in America, it feels slightly worse. What are we going to do from here? And I would love to raise that question. How do we make a process that works small and also helps the globe? And we have to figure out what helps the globe means. Do we want slightly less performance but less variance? Would we rather have more variance but a higher floor, right? Is that something? And that's the thing that we need to think about as we go forward. That's the analysis that I started with here. So then I wanted to take a chance to break it out by FRT and NRT. And I'm not going to go through all of this on these slides. You can pause here and take a look through as you're browsing and watching this. You could take a look through, but I'm not going to go through. I'm going to just go through my analysis here. So when we look at FRT, there seems to be a negative impact. FRT seems to be deprioritized as you work in the crew workflow. FRT and NRT are sitting next to each other, and it seems like they're deprioritized. So it also showed that no region where America was working had better FRT performance while using response crew, right? There was never an improvement in our performance there. It was either the same or slightly worse, right? So we saw that. And then also notice, if you take a look back at that slide, you can scrub back. I'll go here. You could take a look at this slide. Across both adjusted and non-adjusted, APAC was having great times with improvements. And with that, the question is, or rather the statement I would make is, I don't think AMER crew is helping APAC. It's possible, but I don't think it is. I think that they're doing some other process there. And we may need to talk with APAC to understand, is there something that AMER should be trying that you're doing, because we're seeing results for FRT in APAC? How are you handling that? So then jumping forward to NRT, we sort of see something else here where you'll see more smiley faces and you'll see more regions per time having more smiley faces. And this was something that I took away where the takeaway was just a simple one. It seems that there's a positive impact on NRT SLA performance, where we are getting more attention on NRT SLAs, where that is helping at the expense of FRT SLAs. And also the thing that I think about is, there's only one FRT per ticket, where there is at least as many, if not more, NRTs on tickets that have NRTs. So I think that it's I think that that's also playing a fact in there. But beyond that, it's slightly better for NRT, and that's good. But also FRT and NRT, we have to figure out that balance. I think that's the important thing. So I have some very simple next steps that I think as we go into the call tomorrow, if you're joining or if you're paying attention afterwards, I think we need to start by what's going well in AMER with crew. Collaboration. I heard that in the last video I did. Collaboration was huge. And also, our global breach floor is higher. We're doing a better job at making sure that our breaches are happening less, right? So it doesn't hurt as much. But also, we have to think about what we need to change. I do think we need to prioritize FRT performance because we are seeing that globally FRT performance is dropping. And I think that's driven by America's FRT dropping since we adopt this process. I also think if you go back and look through those FRT and NRT slides, you will see that America's West and APAC handoff is something that has been increasingly getting worse. And I would love to spend some time thinking about that as well. That is a uniquely American challenge we have right now. How do we hand off to APAC better, the nature of our handoff, and think about FRT as well. So as we go into the room tomorrow, I want to challenge us to think about what's going well, bring those ideas, and what needs to change, bring those ideas. I'm going to be the DRI, so I'm going to listen to that, and I'm going to think, what can we do in the next week to set us up a week from now to actually go and try those ideas. I want to do something next week to improve these FRT and potentially America West APAC handoff. So come to those room with those ideas. I can't wait to talk about this data and hear what ideas you have and your experiences, and let's get problem solving. Thanks all. Have a great one. See you soon. Bye.